Hello friends, welcome to Dr. Ossai Physiology Academy, DOPA for short. This is the place where we make the learning of physiology easy, exciting, and effective. Thank you for joining me. And if you're new to this channel, you're especially welcome. And if you love the content that we share, kindly click the like button and also the subscribe button. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't get to miss any new content that we drop. Now let's get started. So now we're going to be dealing with the male sexual act. You know, we've been studying everything from the beginning, right from when the male is in the uterus, in utero, how the development starts, determination, sex determination, differentiation, and all of that. We've gone to puberty. We've seen the structure of the male gamete, the male reproductive system, everything. Now we have progressed. It's if we are building on something to the point where reproduction takes place. But before reproduction takes place, there is a sexual intercourse between two partners, a male and a female, okay? So that the sperm, the gamete, can be introduced successfully. So this male sexual act basically is telling us the conditions and the processes that need to be in place for the successful introduction naturally of the male gamete into the female reproductive tract so that fertilization can take place. All right, so let's get started. It's very straightforward. You have just 4 stages, okay? The male sexual act. Now, let's start. Number 1 is very easy for me because it's something that you can easily relate with, okay? Number 1, you have the stage of excitement. Excitement. It's also known as arousal. Okay? Arousal. There are 2 different things that can cause this excitement and arousal. Number 1 is physical. Number 2 is psychic. Okay? So it could be physical. Physical means physical touch of the male sexual organ, that's the penis, and there's a part of the penis known as the glans. The glans penis, that place is very sensitive, okay? It has a lot of sensory nerve endings. So once that place is being touched and rubbed over, especially during intercourse or even with the hand, it causes a lot of arousal and excitement. Okay, so the glans penis is the place that has a lot of sensory nerve endings. Then also the psychic. It means that even without any physical touch, from your mind, just by thinking sexual thoughts, or you're watching a pornographic movie, you can get aroused, seriously aroused. Okay, so this has to do with thoughts, sight, okay, from your thoughts, from your sight, from the higher centers. Why this one is from the glans penis, touch, sensory. So the outward manifestation of arousal is erection. You know about it. So this leads to erection. And this is basically the result of parasympathetic stimulation. Okay, so the parasympathetic nervous system is in charge of this stage. In fact, so to make it very easy for you, let me tell you a secret. This male sexual act, there are 2 things, basic events, although there are 4 stages, but 2 basic events that we call point and shoot. Let me write it here. Point and shoot. The point stands for erection. Point. Okay? Then shoot stands for ejaculation. Okay? Ejaculation. So this P here in the point signifying parasympathetic. The parasympathetic is in charge of erection. Then this S here sympathetic, the sympathetic nervous system is in charge of ejaculation. That's just by the way. Okay, so the manifestation of this is erection, and that is the parasympathetic nerves. They release nitric oxide. Okay, they release this parasympathetic nitric oxide, which is a well-known vasodilator. So it dilates the vessels in the penis, and a lot of blood flows there. So blood flowing to the spongy tissue of the penis makes it to swell. That's what makes it erect. All right, let's go to the next stage. Okay, the next stage is known as stage of lubrication. Lubrication. So what happens here? I remember that I told you something when we're talking about the structure of the testis, okay, and the internal genitalia. We look at all those accessory organs, the bulbourethral gland, that it causes what? It releases pre-ejaculatory fluid, a very clear, slimy fluid that comes out even before ejaculation happens. When you have been erect for a long time, it begins to secrete that. I'm sure you know, especially the males, they know about it. Okay, so that's what lubrication is talking about. After this excitement, arousal has happened for some minutes, very strong arousal, you begin to see that lubrication coming out. So the lubrication is actually secretion, slimy, and that slimy secretion is the result of the secretion from the bulbourethral gland. Okay, they're the ones that do that. So it's to lubricate the internal genital tract of the female so that there will be easy thrusting. Okay, because the male, you are going to penetrate the female genital tract with your penis so that there can be ease of that penetration. But actually, the main lubrication to enable ease actually comes from the secretion from the female genital tract itself, from the vagina. Okay, but this one is just to assist in case maybe the female is not well lubricated. Okay, just assist. Okay, so that's that. Then we enter the next stage. Okay, it's called the stage of emission and ejaculation. They are not exactly the same thing, but they're very closely related. One cannot happen without the other normally. This must happen first and shortly afterwards. That's why we put them together, because they happen almost at the same time. Okay, so let's talk about it. What do we mean by emission? Now, because of all this excitement has happened, continual erection and arousal, what happens is that the sympathetic has now taken over. The parasympathetic has done its work in these two first stages. Okay, so because of that constant stimulation here, the sympathetic is now activated. Okay, what does it do? It leads to the contraction of the smooth muscles of those ducts, the vas deferens, epididymis, and all of that. So it contracts and it pushes the sperms, okay, along the duct, the vas deferens, down to the ejaculatory duct, and then these organs also secrete large quantities of their fluid. Okay, so that's what happens. So emission is talking about the action of the sympathetic nervous system that leads to contraction of the smooth muscles of those ducts to push out the sperm. So as the sperm is flowing, all those secretions from the prostatic fluid adding to it, seminal vesicles adding its fluid to it. So the sensation of those emissions when it gets to the urethra, okay, so after that stage, after it passes the prostate, it now gets to the urethra, close to the penis. So the sensation of the movement of fluid now leads to a stimulation, a reflex stimulation of two muscles of the penis. Okay, so emission is basically the secretion, both the secretion and conduction of semen along the ducts, okay, through the action of the smooth muscles. So what happens is that those two muscles that are reflexly contracted as a result of the sensation of this semen in the urethra around the penis, okay, those two muscles are known as bulbocavernosus and ischiocavernosus. So when these two muscles contract, they forcefully eject semen out of the penis. That is now ejaculation. Okay, so emission pushes out the semen, and the sensation of the semen in the urethra causes a reflex contraction of these two muscles at the base of the penis, and it shoots out the semen, which is now known as ejaculation. And these two combined together have a name known as the male orgasm. All right, it's known as orgasm. Okay, so now there's still a final stage after this has happened. No, because it's the sympathetic nervous system that's involved in this emission and ejaculation. And you know the sympathetic nervous system and what it does. So there's also associated hyperventilation, tachycardia, hypertension, and all of that around that period. Okay, sympathetic stimulation. So that's part of it. So now the last stage is known as resolution. Okay, whereby you now come down to your normal level, pre-excitement stage. You now go back to your pre-excitement stage. So the penis now goes back to its normal size. Okay, it's known as resolution. Stage of resolution. Right? So it happens around between 1 to 2 minutes after ejaculation. Okay, at this stage of resolution, the male cannot be aroused again when it's still at this stage. So 1 to 2 minutes after the male has ejaculated, there's nothing you can do to arouse the male. So it will take some minutes more before a new arousal and everything can happen again. Okay, so that's what happens. Return to pre-arousal. Okay, to pre-arousal conditions. The penis comes down and all of that. So that is basically what you need to know about the male sexual act. But before we round up about the male reproductive system, there's something else I need to tell you about. The minute you have ejaculated into the female genital tract, but at that point in time, the sperms, they are not fully mature. They cannot fertilize the egg. There's something that needs to go on. And I'm going to be revealing that secret to you after this break. All right, you're welcome back. So quickly, let's just talk about what happens thereafter. The semen has been ejaculated into the female genital tract, but there still needs to be some things to really activate the sperm. Okay, and that is simply called capacitation. Capacitation simply means this. You know that the head of the sperm has a lot of proteolytic enzymes that can digest the different layers of the ovum, the oocyte. Okay, so what happens is that while the sperm is still in the male genital tract, as it's moving, it gets coated with a lot of cholesterol. Okay? It gets coated with a lot of cholesterol. Why? It's to prevent those enzymes from being released anyhow before it gets to its destination. So what happens is that while in the female genital tract, for fertilization to be successful, certain substances and fluid in the female genital tract will wash away this excess cholesterol. Okay? And when it does that, another thing happens. There is now influx. It now permits the influx of a lot of calcium ions into the sperm, which now activates to a very high degree the whip-like movement. You see that? Then number two, this influx of calcium ions again now causes the proteolytic, that acrosome, okay, where that has the proteolytic enzyme, to fuse with the membrane. Okay, it's like this. Remember how it is like this. The acrosome is here like this. So this is the membrane, cell membrane. So it fuses with this, then it is now released to go and digest those layers. All right, so that is called acrosome reaction. So you have the acrosome or acrosomal reaction, called the acrosomal reaction. Fusion of the acrosome with the membrane so that the proteolytic enzymes are released to digest all the layers. So that is basically what happened: capacitation and acrosomal reaction. The two basic things that happen while the sperm, the semen, is in the genital tract of the female to make it really, really successful in fertilizing the egg. All right, so that's basically what that brings us to the end of the male sexual act. The next thing now, we're going to proceed to see what happens in the female. All right, so see you in the next video.